roundtable, well, more like a conversation between Professor Penny Green, the director of the International State Crime Initiative at Queen Mary University of London, and very distinguished UN Special Envoy, former envoy on the situations of human rights in Myanmar from 2008 to 2013. So Mr. Quintana comes with 5 years of solid experience on the issue of human rights abuses by the state and non-state actors. But in this case, he will be focusing on the specific state-directed and popular racism against Rohingya people in Rakhine State. He will distinguish, there are two different types of abuses. One is towards the general Muslim populations. There are 16 or so different Muslim communities scattered across the country, but particularly the persecution, which some of us call as a genocide, slow-burning genocide, slow genocide, is most acute, and that is the subject of his, or continues to be the subject of his concern. So let me just start by asking Professor Penny Green. We have seen thousands of boats, or thousands of refugees, not migrants. They're not fleeing from poor country, lack of development. They're not fleeing from just general racism that we see in liberal democracy, even places like the United States, in Europe. But they are fleeing from extremely dire human conditions. And in your forthcoming research report that you've conducted with two of your colleagues, including fieldwork in Bangladesh and Burma, and particularly Rakhine State, can you describe the kind of conditions that these people, including 9-month-old babies, are fleeing from? And why, in your independent essay published on the 20th of May, did you use the word genocide to describe the situation?
Thanks, Zarni. Yes, I think that the fieldwork that we've conducted over it was 4.5 months of intensive fieldwork in Burma, and particularly most of the time in Rakhine State. And our findings are such as to make the decision that what's going on inside Burma is a genocide are absolutely, for us, absolutely conclusive. We think that the evidence that what we are witnessing in terms of the stigmatization, the isolation, the harassment, and now the stage of systematic weakening tells us that we are in a process of genocide. Now we have to understand, I think, Zarni, that genocide is not the act simply of mass annihilation. It's not simply when hundreds of thousands of people are killed. Genocide is a process. It takes place across many years, decades in this case. It's the exclusion, the isolation, the harassment of and the dehumanization of the Rohingya indigenous community in Burma has been taking place for many decades. But in 2012, we saw a change. The violence which was perpetrated against the Rohingya in Rakhine State in June and October of 2012 marked a new development in this very disturbing process. And following the violence, we saw Rohingya communities pushed into absolutely horrendous living conditions in camps, in a camp complex where they are denied the right to move, to travel, the right to earn a livelihood. They are denied basic food, adequate food provisions. They're denied emergency health care, and basically they're denied ordinary health care. They're dying from absolutely treatable diseases. And when we visited the camps and the villages in Sittwe, around Sittwe region, we were horrified by the circumstances in which people are forced to live. they are living what we would call an absolutely bare existence, a bare life, denied of all human rights. We see the physical illnesses which we observed, the obvious depression, the blankness in people's eyes. For us, what is happening to the Rohingya is a genocide.
Okay. Tomas, you joined us at the London School of Economics back in April last year by Skype from Argentina or Chile. And you used the word in your then official capacity as the special rapporteur on the human rights situation in Myanmar. I quote you, you said, in the case of Rohingya, there are elements of genocide. Let me repeat, elements of a genocide, and unquote. And can you say more about that, you know, in the context where we heard from George Soros, who as a Jewish teenager at the age of 15 fled Budapest under Nazi occupation, visited Al-Mingala, visited Rakhine State, and said he heard the echoes of his childhood, and he used the word ghetto, and he compared the conditions on the ground and with his life experiences as a Jew. He called himself, I was a Rohingya in 1944. Can you elaborate why you use the word elements of genocide? And can you relate that to what we heard today from Mr. Soros' testimony?
All right. Yes, I can. First, let me have 1 minute to thank you for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here to see many human rights advocates, fighters, even victims whom I met in prison in the past, in Sittwe and in some other prisons, and now I see them here really in freedom, and that's makes, I think, us very happy. I hold the Myanmar mandate for 6 years, actually, until June 2014, 1 year ago. And I visited the country many times. I traveled all over the country, and I visited Rakhine 4 times. And I've been in Butidong, Maung, and Sittwe, and all around that state. And I get to know in close detail the situation of the Rohingya community. The first visit was in 2009. I didn't know the situation of you people, the Rohingya there. I remember I went to Maung. It was a visit guided by the government, of course, because